Hello, Ms. Zvolerin. Here's a YouTube video report on what's going on with your car, especially when we get into doing diagnostics on the car. Sometimes it's just easier to do show and tell. So I'm going to walk through the different faults that the diagnostic scanner there is reading on your car, and I'm going to make it easy to understand without getting into a lot of technical gobbledygook, and then I'll make some recommendations on what I think are good first step repairs. So what you're looking at there is the actual diagnostic scanner itself, and you can see a listing of all your car's computers. I've gone through with the diagnostic scanner and I've talked to every computer in your car. There's page 1 of the computers, page 2, and page 3, and yep, you've got that many different computers, 19 computers. Now, computers that are happy will be in, you'll see they're in white, but you've got some here that are in red, and they're not happy. What we're particularly interested, especially on getting you back on the road, is to deal with this computer, which is the Big Daddy computer. It's the engine computer, and it's the one that does two things. It turns on that check engine light, and more importantly, it's the one that actually monitors why your car's not running well. It actually controls how your car's fuel injection, electronic ignition, basically how everything on the engine runs, whether it's running well or it's not happy. And if it's ailing, then we're going to go in and we're looking at the fault to find out what it's ailing. Now, in that computer, there is one of a total of 4 faults. And the first fault here has to do with an O2 sensor. I'm going to come back to this O2 sensor. It's also called an oxygen sensor itself. But let's move on to other faults. Okay, here you see cylinder number 3. It's a combustion misfire. Here's cylinder number 6, a combustion misfire. And then in this last fault, it's telling us generally, it's a recap, saying there's several cylinders that are misfiring. We saw they were number 3 and number 6. Now, as a first step recommendation, we are going to deal with those misfires. Now, coming back to this first fault, the oxygen sensor fault, for the time being, I'm going to set that to the side because this fault may have been caused by this fault and the other 3 faults here, or it may be a problem that has to be dealt with, but putting an oxygen sensor on it's pretty pricey. So let's deal with the combustion misfires first. That should get rid of our shaking, that violent shaking the way it's doing, where it's misfiring on the engine. If the other fault comes back, we'll give you an option then to stay another day and fix it, or possibly, if it's not serious and affecting the way the car is running, maybe once you get where you're going, you can deal with this fault. And again, this is presuming that this fault comes back. Now let's talk about what's causing those misfires. Right now, what needs to be done, first things first, is to change the cylinder, the coils. So number 3, which is this coil here, and number 6, you can't really see it, it's way in the back there itself. Both those coils need to be changed. I've also pulled out the spark plugs. Spark plugs are worn out. And whenever spark plugs get worn out, what happens is they start eating up these ignition coils. So you've got 6 of these coils, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can't really see number 5 and 6 back there. And their job is to provide spark to the spark plugs themselves. When the spark plugs get worn, they start asking for more and more spark, and they end up, the little coils end up beating their little hearts out, or giving their life in order to try and fire or spark an old worn spark plug. So the fix is to put a set of spark plugs in it, put the coils in it. I'm going to clear the faults and put you on the road. We'll get an estimate to you in the morning on the cost of that. Should be able to have all this done by sometime around 4 o'clock, and then do a final test drive. By the time we test drive and everything, it may be as late as 5 o'clock. And by then we'll know whether that other fault has come back. We always do a good 20-mile test drive on them before we put somebody on the road. If that other fault comes back, and if it's causing a problem in the drivability, that is making the car run badly, then we may have to address that and keep you one more day. Hopefully though, first things first, let's get a fresh set of spark plugs in there, get both those coils replaced and get those things sparking good again, and put this baby on the road and see how it does. So more to come in the morning once we get an estimate for